Good morning and welcome to Socomec UK First Tech Thursday. My name is Michael Lonsdale and I am the UK Sales Manager for Power Switching and Power Monitoring, and I'm joined today by my colleague Dr. Richard Govia, our Technical Director.
Good morning. If we have any questions as we go through the presentation, please type them into the chat window, which should be on the right hand side of your screen. We'll try and get to them at the end. If not, we'll get back to you via email.
Thanks, Richard. What we're going to show to you today is a major change in the British installation standards with regards to life safety services. This will be an ongoing series over the next 6 to 12 months, so please keep an eye out and we'll come back to you with further details. So, BS 8519-2020 has changed. Have you? The major change really now is that did you know that you cannot use contactors or circuit breakers anymore for a life safety ATS? The amended code of practice means that an ATS should be a single component with an integrated controller from the same manufacturer.
I think a key point there, Michael, is that should in technical speak or standard speak is a must.
It's a must, yeah. So the should means you have to, for want of a better word. It's just they just use should. So the major change, as you can see, is obviously that you cannot use contactors or ATSs anymore. So here's an image of what a contactor type, a couple of examples of a contactor type transfer switch looks like, and this is no longer allowed under BS 8519-2020. And here's another image of some more images of a circuit breaker type, which is also not allowed under BS 8519 for life safety services. However, just for clarification and note, you can use either of these applications, contactors or circuit breakers, for other transfer switching applications, but not for life safety services. So what are we going to talk about today? We're actually going to talk about an installation rule. So not really talking about a product standard. The product standard hasn't changed, but the code of practice or the installation rule, BS 8519-2020, has changed. So here you can see an image of the first page of the standards, BS 8519-2020, and it's really written around the selection and installation of power and control cable systems for life safety, firefighting and other critical applications, and it's a code of practice, as it says at the bottom here. So, as we said before, the major change now is that changeover devices should, which means must, conform to BS, EN or IEC 60947-6-1, which I showed you before is a product standard, and should be based on switch technology, PC classification, which we'll talk about and show you a bit later, rather than circuit breakers or contactors. So the automatic transfer switch, or ATS, should be a single component with an integrated controller from the same manufacturer. Okay, so there's a key point there which we'll demonstrate for you a little bit later on. And this is a code of practice, and this is under Chapter 9. So here, what you can see here is basically a one-piece ATS, integrated controller. In this case, it's got dip switches, but it can have a push-button controller here if it needs to be. PC classification, which means it's based on load break switch technology, and in one piece, all from the same manufacturer.
So this is a fully integrated solution, is fully compliant with the new standard 8519-2020.
That's correct, and it's also compliant to the product standard.
Okay.
So what we're going to show you here is a two-piece or two-part transfer switch, controller transfer switch. This is not allowed under BS 8519-2020. Even if it is the same manufacturer, in this case this is a Socomec one both, but you can have different manufacturers, but under this issue here, you cannot have this for BS 8519 for life safety services.
So I think this is a key point, Michael. Even though these are fully compliant with the product standard, 60947-6-1,
yes,
because of the change in 8519 now, they are not compliant.
Correct. So but they can be used, just to be fully disclosed, they can be used for other applications in transfer switches, but not for life safety services. Okay. So one of the other main points out of the BS 8519-2020 is that when an occupation of the building, obviously for people, normally residential or high-rise or office blocks, is conditional upon the availability of a life safety and firefighting equipment, a single or dual line bypass should be provided to enable the changeover device to be maintained. What it means is basically you can the ATS can have preventive maintenance, or if it is taken out of service, there will be no loss of service for the critical part, and that's in Chapter 9 also. So what we are talking about here, it's all about safety. Okay, so we've got fire sprinkler systems here, but also it could be fire pumps, smoke extraction, etc., etc. So, under the Code of Practice, BS 8519/2020, required for buildings over 4 stories high. It does make reference to BS 9999 with regard to the design, installation, low voltage electrical distribution for life safety. So they actually mentioned each other, BS 9999 and 8519. So here's an image of some ATS bypasses. As you can see, it's required by BS 8519/2020. Okay, you've got a 2-door system here and a single door system here. And this, as I said before, allows for maintenance of the ATS without interrupting the supply.
So just to sort of reiterate again, so to be compliant with 8519, you have to provide a bypass, so to
Correct.
be able to carry out maintenance,
yes,
but still have the supply available for the critical equipment.
That's exactly right.
And I think the other key point is that the panel has to meet the low voltage specification 61439.
Yes, that's correct. Yes, so it has to be tested, and as here we've said, obviously Socomec ATS's bypasses panels are fully tested and certified. They can be put together by other people, but it has to be fully tested and certified using a transfer switch that complies to the standard.
Okay.
Okay. Here's an image of a drawing for a typical application for a bypass application for a fire panel. You have the main supply. You have a secondary source fed via a transfer switch. Normally, obviously, the secondary supply is not the same level. So here, in this case, you would have this, the essential, not essential, and then essential, and then you have a third source here for the generator, which is also fed as a backup to the fire panel. So if this is on and then it's fed through here, if that fails, the third source comes down through the transfer switch. And here you can see in the bypass area, you have another line that goes around the bypass, which allows you to transfer power if required, if the ATS is out of service or for some reason it fails. So as you see it here, okay? This is what an inside of a fully tested and compliant bypass looks like. You can see the arrow, and there's a one piece, amongst all the other equipment, there's a one piece fully integrated controller ATS compliant to the product standard and also complies to BS 8519. So you can see it in here, okay? So, one of the questions we always get asked is, who is responsible for it? So, you are responsible for the fire safety in a business or other non-domestic premises if you are an employer, an owner, the landlord, or an occupier, or anyone else with control of the premises, for example, which can happen obviously for large high-rises, is a facilities manager, a building manager, managing agent, or the risk assessor. So that's an important note, because once the building's built, it's inherent on the facilities manager and the building manager to understand that if the building is not compliant to 8519/2020, they must get it compliant. There are penalties and enforcements. So there is minor penalties, can be up to £5,000, and major penalties can have unlimited fines and up to 2 years in prison. So this is why it says it should, because there is penalties and enforcement behind it, and that's why you must do it. So just to run through, just to clarify all what we've discussed about this morning. So changeover devices should conform to BS EN 6947-6-1 or IEC, and should be based on switch technology PC classification rather than circuit breakers or contactors, which means it must. And the automatic transfer switch or ATS should be a single component with an integrated controller from the same manufacturer. So really, two main points to take away really is that the product standard hasn't changed. 60947-6-1 is still current because it's a product standard. However, the installation rule or code of practice, BS 8519-2020, has changed. You can see here on the slide, if you're not sure or you need some more information, there's a web page there, socomec.com, white papers, where you can get some more information on transfer switching architecture.
Just looking now, Michael, there's a couple of questions. I think it's probably a good point to take them now.
Sure.
And if you have any questions, please type them in the window. What do you mean by PC classification?
So what we mean by that is, as you saw in the demonstration here on the desk, was basically that the transfer switch is based on a load break switch, basically two load break switches back to back. So it's not a contactor and it's not a circuit breaker. Okay.
What is the significance for buildings over 4 stories?
Where 4 stories comes in is normally that there's a life safety firefighting elevator for the firefighters to access the upper floors, and that determines when you need life safety services, sprinkler systems, fire pumps, smoke extractions.
Okay. Richard mentioned 61439. Why is this important?
Well, 61439 is an installation standard also around switchboards. So really, the reason we say that you need to have one that's fully tested to 61439, some of it's about safety. You can't open, as you saw, the one with the 2 doors. You can't open one door when the power's on that side, so it's interlocked. It's buzz barred, it's got all the connections, we know that it works, it's tested so that if you do take the ATS out, you can go around the outside of it. So it needs to be tested to make sure it works, because obviously it's connected to life safety services.
Okay. 8519, sorry, just reading the question. 8519 calls for single or dual line bypass.
Yes.
Could you just re-explain?
Okay, so you can use single or dual. Really what the dual does against the single is give you an extra level of redundancy, an extra backup. So in a single, which is required under 8519, if you are on the first source, which can be the transformer, and you lose that source under a single thing, you can't transfer. However, if it's on a dual line and you have a 2 sources generator and a transformer, if you lose the transformer while you do go into bypass mode, then you can actually transfer the power over to the generator. So it's really, if in a fire situation, if it automatically goes to the generator, then a single line is fine. Mm-hmm. But if the installation stays on the transformer and there is a fire incident and it does go where you need that second source and you lose the transformer, if you have a single line, you won't be able to transfer the power over. So it's a key point. A lot of people go for the single line, not realising that there's not enough redundancy if you don't go for the dual line.
Okay. A question here from James. If I am an FM company looking after an existing building, do I need to reinstall new transfer switches in line with the new 2020 standard, or is the current installation fine?
From what we understand, the current installation is fine. However, once you make a modification to that installation, so you need to change something or you need to upgrade something, then you must conform. So you don't have to go back and take over a building and then have the risk of having to redo everything. But as soon as you change something within that low voltage schematic or that installation, then you must make sure that it conforms to the new standard. It's a good question though, James, very good.
Question from Ben. In section 6, figure 1 in the diagram shows multiple signals terminating at a generation set. Does Socomec have a device that accommodates this as a gen start signal in a single point?
Yes, so it's a good question too. And both the one I showed you, the ATS-G, which is the one with the dip switches, or the ATS-P, have an automatic gen start signal, which automatically, once it sees the loss of the frequency going down on source 1, it would automatically send a start signal to the generator to start the generator.
And Ben, if you need some more information on that,
yeah, please come to us.
Drop us an email at info.uk@socomec.com. We'll put up the address in a minute.
Yes.
We'll come back to you with additional information and the equipment that you would need to do that.
Yes.
That's no more questions I can see coming in now, which is good.
So if you do have any more questions, please come to us afterwards and contact us at info.uk@socomec.com. And as I said before, if you want some more clarification on any things we've talked about, please let us know and we'll come back to you.
Yeah.
But we thank you for your time this morning. We hope it was informative and we hope that you got something out of it and look forward to the next Tech Thursday. Thank you very much.
Thank you.